Nobody is watching the World Series between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Texas Rangers. I'm going to kind of break down the reasons why, but first we're going to talk about the actual ratings. You can see on this nice little graph the average World Series viewership since 2016, and you had the Cubs, Indians. That's kind of when baseball peaked, honestly, that game seven. The Cubs breaking the curse, the Indians having like a 70-year-old drought of their own. And then you can see we go downhill. The 2020 pandemic sees an average of under 10 million per game. We peak back up a little bit at around almost 12 million. And now we are all the way down at a record low of 8.5 million, even lower than the sham pandemic season where nobody was invested into it and they played at a neutral site game between the Dodgers and the Rays. Now, guys, I'm not going to say anything ignorant and say baseball is dying, this is horrible, people's attention spans are shorter, that's why they're not watching, because the reality of the situation is with the new pitch clock rules, we have seen a drastic increase in overall attendance, in overall regular season ratings. This is not an issue in terms of baseball dying and people not wanting to sit through these games. The pitch clock certainly has improved in terms of that aspect. This is a raw talking point that I want to get out right now because it just comes down to the overall matchup. If the World Series this year was the New York Yankees versus the New York Mets, I think we'd probably have around 20 million minimum per game. They might set a new record. When it comes to World Series, it is so dependent on the teams in the World Series, and the Arizona Diamondbacks, nothing against the Diamondbacks, but I've wondered, are the Diamondbacks one of the most irrelevant teams in North American sports? I think they're right up there with the Sacramento Kings of the NBA and possibly a few NHL teams. And again, nothing against the Diamondbacks. It just goes to the whole idea of when it comes to the World Series, it is so dependent on bigger matchups, the Yankees versus the Giants, the Cardinals versus the Red Sox, something like that. And when you don't have it, you're going to start getting some narratives like, oh, this is horrible for MLB, baseball is dying, when we all know, based off of the regular season, based off of the pitch clock, really improving the pace of play and bringing more fans to the game. In terms of the attendance, you had about 25 out of the 30 teams in MLB increase in terms of their attendance this year in comparison to previous years. So it can't be that. And you also have to look at the idea of both of these stadiums. And I'm not saying the stadiums are the reason we're seeing bad ratings, but let's be honest, both of these stadiums are very bad. I mean, Chase Field, I would probably put around 23, out of 30 in terms of rankings. And then you look at Globe Life Field, the newest stadium, that is just a complete mess for being brand new. I mean, I would probably say it's about 15, maybe 14, which is remarkably bad considering it was just built in 2018 and it opened in 2020. Now, just how bad are these ratings? Take a look at this. Every single game in recent memory that we have ratings of, the 2023 World Series in red, that is the fewest viewers per game. Game 1, Game 2, Game 3, and I would imagine Game 4 and Game 5, it's going to take over as the least viewed World Series of recent memory, and quite possibly the most irrelevant World Series. And I don't think this is a scenario where if you replaced the Texas Rangers with the Houston Astros, it would be any better. Actually, it would probably be worse because people have a lot of Astros fatigue and they're really tired of them. I do think this comes down to the Diamondbacks being in the World Series rather than the Phillies, and this is not a rag on the Diamondbacks. They certainly won fair and square. Good for them. I think it's great we see a team like the Diamondbacks in the World Series over the Phillies. I mean, we've seen the Phillies in big playoff games several times before, but you can understand MLB is probably very pissed off about this because they had such a good year, and to end it on this note where every single game you have the lowest in terms of total overall ratings, that's just not a good look in terms of that. So when it comes to the Diamondbacks and the Rangers, if we would have seen a different matchup, certainly I think the viewership would be a lot better. This is not a case where baseball is dying because there is that narrative going around that nobody wants to watch. Certainly, if you have a Sunday night game, it's going to be an issue because you're dealing with the problem with Sunday night football. There was a really bad stat that the Sunday night game doubled the viewership of the World Series game. I mean, that's demoralizing. You're talking about a regular season game versus a World Series game. The fact that the NFL game is double, not that it's totally surprising. Certainly, if it was the Yankees versus another team, that would not be the case. If it was the Red Sox versus another team, that would not be the case. And this is not me saying, oh, we need bigger market teams in the World Series. I'm just saying World Series, the ratings are so matchup dependent. It doesn't mean that baseball is dying. It's just if you have a team like the Diamondbacks, your ratings are going to be down. And it doesn't even have to be two big market teams matching up against each other. Go back to the 2016 World Series, the Indians and Cubs, crazy high ratings, but that was a unique situation where both teams had crazy long droughts, and the Cubs had the famous massively long drought. I think they had 40 million total viewers in game number 7 of that World Series, and it also doesn't help the fact that the Rangers are down Max Scherzer and Garcia, two of their best players. They're probably going to win in 5 games. I would imagine Game 4 and Game 5 are also going to be extremely low rated. So this is a series that could have the 5 lowest rated World Series games out of any series we've seen in recent memory. And then we also do have the people complaining about the World Series logo, and honestly, I have to agree with them. I mean, the World Series logos have gotten worse when you look at it. You know, you just break this down. I would say 2011 was the peak. Looks very nice, you know, right in the middle. You've got the nice autumn colors, all the leaves. And then going down from there, it really gets worse. And now they've got, if you take a look at the bottom right, yeah, that is the newest one. It is that just disgusting looking rectangle design. It's not even a real logo. So you know what I said? I'm going to go to my, favorite graphic designer, the AI, and I asked, design me a new World Series logo in 2023. You can see that one. There's some nice incorporation of some palm trees. You would need the Miami Marlins to be in it. Yeah, or the Rays. You incorporate the palm trees into it. Unfortunately, when it comes to spelling, that is not the AI specialty. That's another nice logo right there. You got the nice baseball. World Series is kind of wonky, but that's pretty typical when it comes to the AI. There's a nice little autumn feel to it. Oh my goodness, I think they actually spelled World Series correctly. Oh, but they got the year wrong. 2,223. They added one too many twos. But yeah, that's just look how nice these logos are. There's another nice one with some leaves. They really need to look at reincorporating the leaves into the design to go with the whole fall vibe. There's another one with some nice leaves, World Series kind of spelled out. I don't know what even is that word at the bottom. I'm not sure what that is. And then there's another one. That one kind of looks like it's from the 70s or something. Yeah, that looks like an old-timey logo with all the nice little leaves surrounding it. And then there's a really discombobulated one. I'm not sure I like that one there. But yeah, you would think that with all of the tools that we have, they'd be able to create a better logo. I understand you need the Capital One sponsorship. I wonder how much that pays, because honestly, it makes it look completely ugly, and it's just a horrible, rectangle that doesn't even look like a real logo because you have to fit everything onto it. It just looks kind of like this weird, disheveled block. Either way, guys, that is the current status of the World Series. Very low ratings, but it's not because baseball is dying. It is totally dependent on the teams involved in the World Series, and especially the Arizona Diamondbacks are not going to be a big draw in terms of overall TV ratings. Add to the fact that you're going up against NFL games. If I was MLB, this is very tough. But it is a thing where, do you start trying to schedule around both Sunday and Monday nights in late October when the World Series is? Is that something you seriously consider doing? Because you're just going to get crushed in terms of ratings against an NFL primetime game, no matter the two teams. It's just the NFL is so crazy big, it's very hard to compete with something like that. I don't know what they're going to end up doing. Again, if it's the Yankees-Mets, it won't matter. The ratings will just be ridiculous. It's very team-dependent. If it's the Yankees-Dodgers, it doesn't matter. If it's more big teams, it's going to be easier to draw. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.